Hello, welcome everybody. This is our workshop on shoreline resiliency, be a short lesson in sustainability. And they're right. You couldn't have done anything. What can you do to prepare for situations like that when Mother Nature just rips through and destroys everything that you have? A lot of people also go through the same situation where they just lose their homes to crazy situations that happen. How can they prepare? They must just feel so helpless in this situation. Um, the thing is, though, the difference with these photos and with the first one is these homes were destroyed by simple wave activity. And so it is actually possible to make your shoreline more resilient to ensure that this sort of destruction doesn't happen to you. And we'll be going through some more of that next.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Brunelle, and I'll be going over the learning objectives for this presentation. The first learning objective is students' knowledge of shoreline resiliency will increase. Students will be able to determine the difference between resilient shorelines and one that is not. The ability to determine the difference in most cases will be automatic in comparing images to various shorelines. Next, the students' knowledge of natural seawalls, seawall alternatives will increase. The students will be able to suggest multiple national alternatives to various applications very quickly. When asked recommendations of natural seawalls and to apply to a scenario, the students will identify natural seawalls that are applicable. And the third learning objective is students will develop a negative attitude towards man-made seawalls. Students will no longer prefer or suggest the use of man-made seawalls. Students will recall and design alternatives immediately.
Hi everyone, I'm Tommy Brooks. I'm here just to check your current knowledge on shoreline resiliency. Can you spot mangroves? What about a seawall? An oyster bed? A rocky coast? What about shoreline erosion? All right, later on we will check back with you to see if you have learned anything at the end.
Hello, everyone. My name is Al Craig, and here is some of the events that occur underwater with mangroves. You got the live, thriving sea life, such as fish, orchards, and everything else. Also, next, the different types of seawalls, and this is a man-made seawall, as you can see, and they're not very environmental friendly, but yet they do provide some protection from sea erosion. And here's another natural man-made seawall, which is just some rocks that were put there to slow down the waves as they hit the banks and to stop the erosion of the sea, taking the sand back out to sea. Oh, here's a jetty, and the jetties are good, but only thing about the jetties was the jetties protect where they are. After the wave gets past the jetty, then that part of the beach erosion is worst, and so but they do have jetties. And then here's some natural seaweed that we planted, seagrasses that we planted to slow the waves down, which also helps the fish environment and everything else to thrive as a natural environment setting. This one also was a mixture of mangroves and natural seawall to stop beach erosion. So there's more than just one way. You can combine the two to even have a better protection against the sea, the ocean, or whatever else destroying our sea lines. This was just where we come from the mangroves to seawalls, the jetties, going and showing you the different stages, and then how this is a map sequence of how it is controlled.
Hello, everybody. My name is Clyde Harvey, and what we have here is a virtual demonstration of what happens to a shoreline with mangroves or without. And it clearly shows that the mangroves will slow down the flow of the water and prevent damage to the shoreline versus shoreline without mangroves. And what we have here is a physical demonstration of what happens when those waves hit those mangroves. You could clearly see on the other side of the mangroves the calm water and virtually no destruction of the shoreline. And that's what we like to see as a natural shoreline that could prevent erosion. And here we have an example of where your different types of mangroves lie. The mangroves in the water are called red mangroves. They could grow in the water and prevent erosion. And then you have the black mangroves that are both in the water and on the shoreline, and they prevent erosion as well. And then you have your white mangroves on the shore. So it's a trifecta of protection of the shoreline. Thank you.
All right, everyone, let's check that knowledge. Can you show me this time where mangroves are? No? Ah, yeah. Seawall. Anywhere? Oh, all right. Who doesn't love to slurp these guys down? Where's the oyster bed? All right, forget the rocky road. Where's that rocky coast? Right, and show me that erosion. There you go, folks. Thank you for participating.
Hey guys, my name is Mia and I'm the student president of SPC Net Impact. The student group is presenting a sustainable student series for Earth Month, and the SPC Sustainability Management students will be presenting their resilient workshops to share throughout the college. Today we will be hearing from the Shoreline Resiliency group. So these students will be sharing information about what they learned and more about how we can be resilient with our shorelines. So first up, we're going to have Tommy.
Hello, I'm Tommy Brooks.
Hey, Tommy, how's it going?
Good, how are you, Mia?
Doing great, thanks. So Tommy, what is the most surprising thing you learned or found out about resilient shorelines when you studied this topic?
The most surprising thing was that pretty much all man-made structures are not very good for our shorelines. I grew up on a lake, and we had a seawall, and I just thought it was a regular thing that was good. And I didn't know really that they're not really that good at all. And nature knows its best course when it comes to shorelines. And as long as we mimic that, it will be all right.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, the difference in an unresilient shoreline and a resilient shoreline, and how effectively Mother Nature can do that. I agree, Tony.
For sure.
Thank you. And then up next, we have Chris.
Hello.
Hey, Chris. Are you a senior in the Sustainability Management Program as well?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
Yeah, last class.
Congrats. So how do you think that resilient shorelines affect business strategy, the economy, and a company's approach to the triple bottom line?
I really think it has to do a lot with their local economy and what's going on with it. Like if you're in a place like Clearwater Beach, the resilient shoreline is actually depends. They're not going to install a bunch of mangroves because it's going to take away from their money coming in. So they use, sand replenishment, beach replenishment, things like that. And they're able to do that because the tourism offsets the cost. But if you're in a place like, just a road going through a certain causeway someplace, and you're not using the proper sort of things, that economy, where maybe they chose to do a seawall or a jetty or something like that to try to, maintain the shoreline, that destruction from not using like a natural sort of mangrove or something like that gets stronger over time, it actually causes hardships on future generations, as well as, that local economy that has to upkeep that. But I think it's a lot different, though, if you look at it like if you're a business in Key West, where that economy, they put a lot of focus on the shorelines, and keeping things natural. And they make that part of their business. So you come and you enjoy that beauty. They work that right into their triple bottom line, where they look at the planet part of it, where it protects itself. They use the nature. And then for the people, it maintains itself for future generations. And then they kind of market it in that sort of natural way to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. There are definitely some communities that are, it is much higher on their materiality and on their risk matrix to be invested in shoreline resiliency than communities that aren't. And that can be hyper localized. I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. And next we have Jeff.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Jeff Brunelle. This is my last class before my capstone, which I'll be taking in the fall. And I'm part of Group 1, the Shoreline Resiliency Group.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. So
No
what's
problem.
the best way to communicate this information to the businesses who need it?
The best way I could say was I've worked for a few different aquariums throughout the Clearwater and Sarasota County areas.
Awesome.
And we do. I've done marine mammal rehabilitation, things like that. And the best way I've found to communicate to businesses is either through public education, through either workshops, whether online, or we would host workshops at our aquarium where people can come in and like sit through them. And we do a presentation, and we'd have different guest speakers come in through the different areas and talk about what they do, and just kind of compile everything into one little workshop. That's how I think it would be best effective, basically getting out in the public, interacting, things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that being able to share our information digitally changes that a lot. And at an aquarium, I can imagine that the combination of having a workshop and having some hands-on, getting to see it, those types of things can really make a powerful and impactful statement.
I'm sorry, my computer's dying, so I have to plug it in really quick. So I have to.
You're all right. You're all right. We're going to move on to Al. Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Hello, Mia. My name is Albert Craig, and I'm in my senior final class as well of sustainability management. And I guess you got to ask the question.
Thanks for sharing, Al. It's nice to meet you. And yes, how can this resilient shoreline information be applied where you work currently or where you've worked in the past?
Well, where I work currently, I work for the city of Clearwater, and we have homes that are on the shoreline as far as beach homes and all that. And what they can do is instead of using, of course, they don't want to because of the aesthetic look of it, but the shoreline it could be with the mangroves to do the natural slowing down of the waves and all that stuff rather than the seawalls, which is not I want to say a positive thing as far as our environment because of what they do. They deteriorate and then they're not sustainable. Whereas the mangroves are natural, and it creates a natural environment for the the shoreline. So it would really help us if we knew a lot and practice these traits of using mangroves instead of jetties, shoreline, and seawalls.
Yeah. And the mangroves do a lot to promote and repair the habitat as well as protecting the shoreline. So it keeps our areas safe. And then you get that whole marine habitat back, which can be quite beautiful.
Yeah, I was going to say it lets the fish and all that stuff feed and spawn and all that. So it's natural. Yeah. And it protects the shoreline naturally instead of.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Thanks for sharing, Al. And Clyde?
Hi, my name's Clyde Harvey, and I'm also a senior in the Sustainability Management Program and a part of Team 1, Shoreline Resiliency. We've been working on this quite a bit, and it's been very enlightening on all the good things that we could do for our shorelines and make them more resilient.
Awesome, awesome. So how can this information change how you approach your everyday life?
Well, my everyday life, I grew up, was all around Pinellas County and the shorelines, and have always been involved in fishing around our Pinellas County area, and very familiar with mangroves and knowing how there are estuaries and how important they are to our shorelines is very, educational to learn more about why they are and how damaging these other forms of barriers could be to our shorelines.
Right.
So in my everyday life, I think would be to educate other people that aren't really in the know about why and how natural shorelines can be more beneficial in the long run for future generations as opposed to man-made seawalls. But there's also some other man-made seawalls that I've learned can be more beneficial than just a flat structure. The curved ones seem to work well because they push the water back. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was probably the best man-made one that I've seen. But by far, I think to educate the people that don't really know is to show them how I learned in a very good visual is a wave tank. Where
Agreed. Yeah.
You show how the waves come in and hit a man-made structure and it bounces and goes crazy. But if it goes through and filters through the mangroves, you're going to have a nice calm water on the other side of the mangroves. And that visually just explains it all. So I think that would be the best way to share that with other people.
Agreed. I think especially as a Floridian, as we get ready for hurricane season, and I think about that wave tank video every time it comes this time of year, because then I remember, our storms are getting stronger, they're getting more intense, and we're having more of them. And without mangrove protection, you're essentially just, that is our only protection for those of us who live in places like Florida, you know, and those who live on the shore. That wave tank is very impactful. It makes me feel like I want to live behind the mangrove for sure.
Yes, and we were actually going to build one for the Earth Month expo, but that kind of got canceled with our COVID-19.
Right. Yeah, it's a very interesting senior year, right, guys?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to that, but I mean, maybe I'll get a chance to make one and present it for Dr. G some other time.
Just so happens that Net Impact, one of our favorite things to do is collective action. So if you're a student, you got passion and a project, come hang out with us and we'll do it with you. So
hey, if there's a way to finance that, I'd be willing to come in and do it right away.
I'm going to sign off for this video for now, and we're going to talk more about that. But yes, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you sharing with us tonight.
Thank you, Mia.
Awesome. Thank you.